Let's get to our Thursday night preview right now. We're going to screen share what our model shows for Thursday night. Broncos -9.5 against the Raiders. 25-17, our projected score. Little bit of an edge there on the Raiders, it looks like, Dave.
Yeah. So when I was starting the outline yesterday, we actually had a better edge on the total. I can't remember because I changed my notes if it the number has moved or not, or if we just settled as a little closer. I mean, it's 42.5 right now. Our projected score tallies up to 42, so it's really close. But yeah, 54.6% for the Raiders to cover the 9.5. Pretty small 2.2% edge, -110. So not a crazy value play, but something there. Enough to appear in our best bets. Raiders money line 22%. That's an edge at +430. It was not yesterday because the best odds I could find were 370, I think. So you got a better price there. Yeah, let's dig into it. So I don't really like to go against the model a ton. Usually I'm in agreement with it anyway, just for my own personal decisions. But the Raiders are just not really a team I want any piece of right now. And that's for a litany of reasons. But for the most part, they just haven't looked very good. They're not a good team. They were blanked by the Chiefs a week or so ago. They lost 40-6 to the Colts. Been outscored 51-9 by AFC West opponents. Their biggest victories they can hang their hat on this season are beating the Titans. Who hasn't done that? Well, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, I guess. The Patriots in week 1, which I think we can just throw away after the direction we've seen both those teams go in since then. And while I think the Broncos are a flawed team, they are beyond capable of working this Raiders team. And unless the defense can really get to Bo Nix, I think it might be a long night for the Raiders. It is a 2-score spread, so there's room there to cover, of course. But personally, I'm more on the under here, and we are totally aligned with it. It is perfectly even money, 50% probability, 0.0% edge. So no value, no overprice either. So I guess whatever you're personally liking in this game, the model is not giving a massive edge one way or the other, but just feels like an under game to me. I don't really see the Raiders scoring like enough points to keep this close, and the Broncos aren't really like a powerhouse offense either. We're projecting right in between 24 to 27 points for the Broncos, so unless they go nuclear, kind of feels like an under just for the sheer amount of points that either team is probably going to score. Defensively, the Broncos have only allowed 14 touchdowns this year. Only the Rams have fewer than that with 12. They've done most of their scoring, not most of 40% in the fourth quarter. So they're a team that comes on late, doesn't really put on points early. You might even see this total go down if you will see it go down if it's a slow first quarter, which is perfectly reasonable with how we've seen both of these teams play. Broncos are the best defensive red zone rate in the NFL, so maybe a tough night for Ashton Genty if they get close inside the 20. 34.8%. Best third down defense at 28.2%. So just a lot of things that make me say it might be hard for the Raiders to move the ball. The one thing that might make it not so hard is no Patrick Surtain in this one. And just something I came across in the research, how that impacted the Broncos last week. They play man coverage on over 60% of their snaps this year, and just 28% versus the Texans last week without Surtain in the lineup. So I think if they can scheme Brock Bowers pretty much out of this game, it's not going to be a very difficult test for the Broncos, and could be a long night for the Raiders. So under for me.
I think everything that you've laid out is 100% accurate. The Broncos are a flawed, but yet very good, very successful football team. The Raiders are pretty much a disaster outside of Brock Bowers popping off and having a great moment here and there. I am uneasy with this entire game, largely because the model says there's value on the Raiders side. And whenever something feels too obvious and the Dimers model says otherwise, usually the Dimers model is correct. If I could try and wrap my brain around this, one thing I would note, if you're a spot bettor, I think this is a pretty treacherous trap spot for Denver. Denver is coming off of 6 consecutive victories. Some of those have been extremely ugly. A 2-point win over the Jets, a 1-point win over the Giants where they were down 4 touchdowns, 3-point win against Houston last week. And look, give them credit for surviving, but they have flirted with disaster. They are certainly not as good as their 7-2 record says they are. Now here comes a dead dog Raiders team that, of course, they should win. But you look ahead 1 week and they take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this is a pretty green light fire on Las Vegas spot bet. And usually if it's a good spot bet for a side that feels off, but the model says it's the play, it's good to add to the card. So I think I'm going to get there tonight. As ugly as it seems, I think I'm just going to take the Raiders to cover the spread. Although I agree with pretty much everything you gave us analysis-wise, the spot is enough for me. You've got some additional betting angles for us to look at in this game. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, for real quick, I'll say maybe we'll have to do a little poll. Who are you tailing? Are you taking the under or the Raiders or both? And maybe we both, we got everyone to the little parlay hit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, a couple betting angles in this, which I think are probably more intriguing than the spread or the total itself. One of them would be the Broncos backfield here. RJ Harvey coming on a little bit lately, not exactly projected to light it up in our projections, but that's kind of the player he is. His work comes in bursts a good bit, and it's not likely to see that high variance in our projection, but it should be a good game for the running backs of the Denver Broncos. The Raiders allow 1.1 rushing touchdowns per game to backfields. That's third worst in the NFL. The red zone defense versus running backs is also the third worst in the NFL. So that goes hand in hand right there. RJ Harvey, he is probably my favorite player in this game tonight. I hope he delivers because I've got him in a few things and he's kind of very ever present through this preview. But he has 4 what I would call good games this year. One with 70 yards rushing, one with 98 total yards, and a TD, one with 46 yards rushing and 3 TDs. And last week he had a 51-yard receiving game with a touchdown. 3 of those were against the Titans, Bengals, and Cowboys, the 3 worst scoring defenses in the NFL. Well, the Raiders aren't much better than them. Despite allowing only 3.9 yards per carry, they're very vulnerable as teams attack them with volume. And as mentioned, their red zone defense is pretty atrocious. Harvey's over 15 receiving yards in 5 games, over 20 in 3, and over 40 in 2. 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Dobbins is scoreless since week 5. He's still the workhorse. He's getting a lot of volume. Harvey's touches are kind of all over the place. I wrote in our article today, our same game parlay, I won't spoil it, but his box score kind of looks like someone grabbed a fist of numbers and threw it at a sheet. The touch volume is very all over the place. His output is up and down, but what's been consistent is when it's a poorer defense, he has shown up, he's been utilized, and he's broken big plays. Like I said, plus money. I didn't say this. He is plus money for 15 yards receiving. We have him at 20, so I think that's a great little angle there. I think it's a very sound ladder play. I like my running backs and my tight ends in exploitable spots. I think this is one. The Raiders don't give up a ton of receiving yards to running backs, but something about this game just feels like Harvey's, going to continue to keep rolling in the situation that he has been. And yeah, like I said, as far as a score, Dobbins has been out of the end zone since week 5. And Sean Payton is definitely a hot hand kind of guy. Yeah. But he's not going to go away from Dobbins, but I don't think you can ignore Harvey to the point where you can only give him like 4 or 5 touches in a game like this.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. I normally stay completely away from split backfields like this, but like you said, Peyton has a history of kind of just going back to the well with something that's working. It's very evident right now in this win streak. Mind you, the team has been experiencing success, not just Harvey. It's been Harvey who has emerged. So I'm with you. I think there's some value, some opportunities to sprinkle Harvey in a variety of ways. What about who the void for Vegas here? Jacoby Myers is out, which is frustrating. I had Jacoby Myers on our little Halloween parlay last week. Didn't go well, and now he's gone. Who's going to fill the void for the Raiders?
Yep. Off to Duval. Well, it's going to be a tough void to fill because the Broncos defense is absolutely elite, allowing just 129 yards to receivers per game, fewest touchdowns in the whole league. Brock Bowers obviously just came back and had a huge game, but they allow only 53.6 yards to tight ends, only 3 touchdowns to the position so far. It seems like it's probably going to be Trey Tucker, soak up some of that field stretching stuff, a little additional. But I mean, like Tyler Lockett, Jack Beck, like these are the type of guys who are going to probably see a couple extra targets, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to materialize for any of them in this game. I will not be touching any receiver props for the Raiders in this game unless I'm doing like a total under fade or something. Will say, for all their talent, the Broncos have just 4 picks this year. Geno Smith has an interception problem, 11 on the year. The Jaguars kind of made him look like just the best in the league last week, 4 touchdowns, marching down the field. So if you're looking for some sneaky value, you might be able to find some intriguing plus money, lower tier alternates for guys like Tyler Lockett, Jack Beck, maybe even Michael Mayer. The second tight end who they drafted the year before Bowers, and then immediately were like, you know what, this guy's a lot better than you. We'll just take him instead. So not a good game for the passing offense to kind of not restart, but to adjust without who wasn't scoring, but a pretty big target in the offense still of Jacoby Myers.
In hindsight, rather than betting on Michael Pittman and Jacoby Myers for the Michael Myers, I should just bet Michael Mayer of the Raiders. Totally blank that there's a tight end backing up Brock Bowers named Michael Mayer. He was oddly involved, by the way. Like last week, they were like really getting him involved early in that game, and I kept waiting for why aren't they getting Bowers involved? In the end, Bowers had some amazing breakaway plays, but reminder, yeah, they drafted Mayer pretty high. You thought he was
7 targets.
You thought he was going to be the guy, and then Bowers just emerged a year later. So I don't hate him as a long shot, and I think you called out a couple good ones as well with Tucker and Beck.
Yeah. So it's going to be kind of a toss-up, but mostly an angle I'm avoiding. If you're looking for a real deep cut, though, yeah, it's probably the tight end too. So one other angle here, not really about this game so much, but about what this game the implications of it is the AFC West race. Currently, we have the Broncos in first at 7-2, Chargers at 6-3, Chiefs at 5-4. Broncos are favored at plus 140 over the Chiefs at plus 150. Our 41.1% probability for Denver compared to 34.5% for the Chiefs shows a much better value on the Broncos. Basically the same odds, 7% higher to win the division. And as you mentioned earlier, Greg, these teams will play each other next week. So if the Broncos win this, they will likely be minus odds favorites. If they win next week, they win this game and they win next week, they'll likely be minus odds favorites. So if you think they are going to win this division, this is probably your last chance unless they happen to lose to the Chiefs, in which case they may not win the division. So if you think they are, this is probably the time to do it. I will say the Chargers are actually the value play, 23.4% at plus 425. Our fair odds are around plus 325 for that. So they're actually the value bet to make. But from a, I think, realistic standpoint, what we're looking at these teams doing, how you and I talked about, we're kind of sliding a bit on the Chargers given their injuries and stuff. This is the time to bet the Broncos in the AFC West if you don't think the Chiefs are going to take it.
Yeah, I agree. Timing wise, this has to be the moment. For me, I don't want to bet the Broncos to win this division. I think they're going to collapse as the stretch run comes. It's scary too, as we were talking through all the various angles on this game, like, even with the Harvey stuff, it's like, okay, great matchup. Red zone defense against backs is bad, but there's like the looming second guy in Dobbins. It kind of feels like the same situation if you look at the futures in this division, where it's like, oh, they play the Chiefs next week. If you think they're going to win the division, you should probably bet it now because you think they're going to beat the Chiefs next week. even if they beat the Chiefs next week, the Chargers might still be lurking. It's just not as straightforward as some of the other games that we've had in prime time when you try to split up all the various angles. There's a lot of complicated third pieces in pretty much every way you can attack this game. So I think as we go through it from a props perspective, for me, it is like long shots or nothing here. Go deep down the list. Look for the guys who are kind of filling the void left by Jacoby Myers. I think the only play I really feel confident in is the spot bet, taking Raiders to cover. But outside of that, this is just kind of one of those spooky little spots, even though we're a week after Thanksgiving.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. One more quick angle, and it's going to be very quick because I basically already talked about it. Touchdown jackpot on FanDuel. Give me RJ Harvey for all the reasons I've already said. Talked about his scoring upside based on the odds alone. And just a realistic look at who is in this game. He shouldn't be more popular than fifth or so. So you'll get a better bonus bet than someone like Genty, Dobbins, Sutton, Bowers. I think Harvey probably slots in as the fifth most popular play of those guys. Maybe even Troy Franklin above him. So that'd be it. And if you want someone else, I would go Troy Franklin or Bo Nix. But for me, it's RJ Harvey. That's who I will play for my jackpot.
I like it. All right, all in on RJ Harvey. That is the Dave way for Thursday Night Football. Hopefully this goes well and we can revisit and celebrate for our first episode next week. Not only the angles we just discussed for Thursday night, but we also have our prime time parlay. Let's take a look at our Thursday Night Football same game parlay.
Thursday Night Lotto.
At DraftKings, plus 650, but with a 30% boost, you get it up to plus 845. That's what we've got for Thursday night. What do we start with?
All right. First one up, you'll find an article on site about a primetime prop of the week written by the great Nick Slade. That is on Cortland Sutton over 55.5 receiving yards, and we're pretty much using that as the first anchor in this parlay. Broncos leading receiver. He's cleared 50 plus in 6 of 9 games this year. His pace right now is for his third career 1,000 yard season. So he's doing pretty much as well as he ever has. Coming off a down game versus the Texans, unsurprising. They have the best passing defense in the NFL, pretty much. But he still recorded a 30-yard catch in 3 straight games in that game. It was his only catch, but he was a big one, which he does all the time this year. 5 of those this season, big 30-yard catches, that is. Every team's leading wide receiver has hit 50-plus yards versus the Raiders. Obviously, that's not a huge mark, but it means there is consistency among the top target every week that they play Las Vegas. Dimers projects him for 62.5, so well above this line. I even considered doing 60, but I said, why not? Just let's play the 50. We want to win back-to-back Thursday Night Football parlays here, and we don't want to get hooked on a 59. So we'll do this because everybody knows you can't get hooked on 49.
No way. I love that.
No,
stat,
it's impossible.
I adored that stat. Every team's leading receiver 50 plus. Like that.
Yeah, it's just, and why go with, I was also looking at Troy Franklin, but why go with Troy Franklin, who's a little more inconsistent? We're just going to keep it nice and simple here. So, but we are going with a different receiver in this same offense for the next one. Evan Engram, 25 receiving yards. Well, tight end, but you know what I mean. He's at 25 yards in 5 of his last 6 games before a goose egg versus the Texans. Again, great defense, not surprising. He's the consistent third target in the Broncos passing attack. No Marvin Mims tonight, so a few more vacated targets out there. Not the longest catch, but he's got a 10-yard catch in all but one game this year, 15 plus in 3 of his 5 overs. Raiders allow 45.1 receiving yards per game to tight ends, which is actually on the lower end of the spectrum, but it's well over what we need tonight. And we project him for 34.7 yards, like Sutton, clearing this line pretty easily.
I do want to say quickly too, Dave, I'm looking at the graphic. We wrote rushing yards by accident on this.
Nope.
Just to be clear, it's receiving yards for any viewers of this. I think they know that, but let's just make sure nobody's locking in Evan Engram 25 rushing yards tonight.
I dare someone to lock it in. They might buy dimers if they lock in this parlay with Cortland Sutton and Evan Engram to get 75 combined rushing yards. Yes. But thank you, Greg, for noticing that. All right. And anyway, who else but for our touchdown, but RJ Harvey? The guy actually leads the team in touchdowns. It's all because of his recent burst, but 6 touchdowns, leads the team across the board. Shares the backfield with J.K. Dobbins, but is better in the red zone. He's converted just only 5 looks, but into 3 touchdowns since week 6. So he gets the ball in there and he does work with it. Raiders, as I mentioned, allow 1.1 rushing touchdowns per game. Poor red zone defense. 28.4% probability for RJ Harvey. Lock it in. There's your parlay plus 650, boosted up to about plus 845 on DraftKings. And yes, receiving yards here.
You heard the man. It's only right that it concludes with RJ Harvey. We're big Harvey believers this week.